Jula Sadantu Adudison. Welcome back to Rokkon Podcast Episode 3, Special in English. It is so special not only because I can speak English without translating the script into my constructed language, but also it's because I have a special guest who will be joining us in any minutes now, Salum the Conlang. Some of you might know his works. He has published the 4th episode of his podcast, collaborating with some Conlangers like Desi Conlang and me. Obviously, I feel so honored. I can't wait. Disclaimer before we get into the podcast, I want to apologize if the audio is different from the quality that comes out from my mic because I found out that Salum's voice wasn't recorded the whole session and I'm disappointed, and I've done my best and I requested Salum to send me his audio file, and I hope that you still enjoy it otherwise. So I'm really sorry for the different quality. It doesn't mean that this podcast isn't enjoyable because I enjoyed making it. So you must be enjoying it too. All right. See you on the next podcast. I hope this mistake is never done in the other episodes as well. So I will improve that in the future. And I hope you're enjoying it, and see you.
Hello, Salum is here. Welcome back to my channel, and that's our new episode of our Salum the podcast show. And we have our guest Rock here. Can you say something to our listener, Rock?
Yes. Hello, everybody. This is me, Rock the Conlanger. I made my constructed language called Rokkon since 2019, and I have been myself conlanging since 10 years ago.
10 years? That's huge.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah. Conlang is really, really great hobby that I can do even in my busy schedule. So
That's right.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so our topic today is about the Khon culture and the marriage in the Khon culture. So, how do you think that the most thing of making a marriage in a Khon culture, what is the thing that is most important to deal with?
The most important thing for making a wedding, or we can say marriage in Khon culture, is looking back and considering the other cultural and also aspects that is related to environment in your Khon world, and also the religion, of course. And the number of family members also matter, and even the climate.
Example?
For example, your traditional wedding will not take 14 days non-stop with 100 different music instruments without any specific reason. It has to have one specific reason. For example, the Sumatran culture. The Sumatran culture applies. Yeah, the Sumatran culture. They apply this kind of culture called rantau. Rantau means that if you go on perantauan, you go out from your hometown and you make another new families. So from that rantau tradition, you can hold a 7 days feast to gather all the family members that go in rantau. So you have to wait for specifically 7 days to finish the whole ceremony. Is it crazy? Is it crazy?
It sounds very interesting. 7 days. They celebrate 7 days? It sounds very Islamic.
Yeah, also it's related to the tradition and also the Islam tradition mixed together.
Yeah,
Indonesian
also,
is...
it's also like in Indonesian culture, right?
If your Khon culture doesn't have that culture aspect, you don't need to make your traditional wedding this crazy. Like people dance like crazy until they break bones and die.
So it depends on the culture, like.
Yeah, the habits of the people.
Yeah, that's interesting because I also have a wedding in my novel. It's about the culture of guy,
Yeah, I know.
And because guy culture is much like the Celtic culture.
And that's really interesting.
So what is the routine of the ceremony?
Oh, you mean the ceremony? The ceremony actually.
Yeah, what's that going and it takes 7 days.
It can range from the when before the wedding happens. There actually a tradition called dowry. Do you know? DOWRY? It means that you actually as a groom. Yeah. Example, if you're a groom, you have to pay some amount of money to the bride side of the family. Yeah, so it guarantees that the life of the bride will be secured financially. So they do something like that. They give like something like offerings, but not BT offerings, but some kind of presents or price. And then after the dowry ceremony, it's going on like slaughtering an animal. Slaughtering an animal like a bull, or it depends on the financial condition. If it's for family, you slaughter chicken. If you're wealthy enough, you slaughter a goat or a bull. Yeah, a water buffalo.
Okay. So goose.
Yeah, and also the waiting, of course, the waiting for the relatives from outside the region to come to the wedding party, and it takes days, especially in the old days when we didn't have any access to airplane and airport or video call. It takes days.
Okay, I found the description about the ceremonies of the wedding of Guy culture. Let me read it.
Okay, it's interesting. Okay, let me hear it.
So the husband and the wife stand face to face, and their hands crossed in front of their chests. The priest takes the long fuchsia tower with certificate patterns. With the prayer, he entwines the towers on their crossed hands, circle by circle. After he entwines the tower completely on their hands, he takes a bunch of mistletoe to tie the tower on their hands. So it's basically same as the Celtic culture that mistletoe is a huge plant of goods, of wonderful, something like that. It's very interesting.
I'm looking forward for the symbolism of the wedding. So,
cool. Do you have any symbol in the wedding content in your culture?
In my culture, actually, I adopt 4 colors of the cycle of life. The first one being red, symbolizing the blood or the birth of a new children. The second one is green, the symbolizing plant or growth. Yeah, from the baby to teenager or something like that, to an adult. And the third one is yellow. Yellow represents gold and also wealth. When like the point when you are adult, you have ability to find your fortune. Yeah, that represents the color yellow. And then after yellow, it's the white. White represents the light or the death. And the last one is not the last one. White is the last one. Sorry.
Okay, white. Okay, it sounds
Yeah.
very colorful in the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, like that.
Interesting.
How about yours though?
Okay, so in Guy culture, they drink the new brewed wine in the wedding time.
Oh.
It symbolizes the good fortune for these two couples of the rest of the time.
So wine symbolizing the joy, something like that.
Yeah, probably. But people might didn't know what its simple came from, but it's just happened. It's just like a culture thing like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Do you have any taboos in your wedding time?
Well, taboos, especially, I don't really set a taboo in my culture yet. It's just like, yes, the taboo is not to feel sad in your wedding.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So many makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
It makes so many sense, right? So how about yours though? I haven't set any taboos in my wedding culture.
Yeah, mine is too, but I think it will be very funny if we have any taboos in our wedding time or in our culture. But it's also very hard because it needs a history background or something like that, or something religions past, or I don't know.
Yeah, because we have trapped in this very patriarchal world where women is put on the lower level in like most part of the world. So yeah, we have to work on it. Yeah. Yeah. So taboo actually depends on the the certain limitation and also the certain moral values. Is it? Yeah. Like how gender works in your own culture. Is it binary? Right. Yeah, is it binary, only male and female, or you will adopt like the two spirits concept, like in indigenous American culture? Like we have to really work on it, and it's really hard to set a taboo in a wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
each culture.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Each culture. Each culture will set a certain limitation, like, hey, you two cannot hold hands. God is watching you, or something like that.
I believed. Yeah. Cool. And so that will be a very interesting question that should we have a same-sex marriage in our culture, or do we need that or not?
Referring back to the how the gender works, the gender roles in your culture, and in indigenous American culture, which is really interesting, you have this kind of two spirits, like male with female, male with a feminine tendency, and also female with a masculine tendency. And we also have it in Toraja culture, where there is a priest. There is a certain priest that is neither male or female.
Right.
Like, can you imagine being a person that is neither male or female, and you have this freedom to engage a sexual activity with both genders?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, so it depends on the culture. In my culture, I have set this, because I am a queer person myself, I have
Mm-hmm.
set the the same-sex marriage just like a normal wedding. It's just like a
Ah,
normal wedding. Like people should not make a big deal of it. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, how about
That's
how about you?
cool.
How about yours?
Well,
How about you?
and my convert word is like just in 19th century or early 20th centuries. So I think that will be a little awkward if we have a homosexual marriage in that culture. That's, yeah, that's for the shame.
Oh, okay. Is there any like very big like a famous famous characters that stands out because of their sexuality? Because I have one. I have one
Cool.
actually.
Well, I think the homosexual will also exist, but the marriage is another question, you know. It's not
Oh,
like just love. I love you, but a marriage is according to the lawyer system, the social system, yeah, and the ideologies of the converts. So I think when we talk about marriage, it will be more difficult of making a homosexual or politically correct things in a convert. We need to think much more rather than I just man loves men and girls loves girls.
yeah, because it's about a commitment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, it's because
It's
the
just less.
marriage.
It's just like our world. Because if you
Yeah,
want to have a homosexual or a queer marriage, you need to change the laws, to change the ideologies of the society. Or people need to work like that. It's just like in common words. It makes much sense in my opinion. But of course, I think some words might have much tolerance about the same-sex
uh,
marriages.
okay, yeah, yeah, because marriage is a make or break deal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's rooted from the I mean like the stereotype or
Mm-hmm.
the general of general thoughts of sexuality in the community.
Mm.
Like, yeah. How about the marriage venues? Well, we haven't talked about that. The
Wait.
marriage venues. What is your take about the marriage venue, or where would the marriage be held?
In my convert, it's basically just in church because it's like Celtic
Mhm.
culture, something like that. So in church, and there will be priests and just like the Europeanish.
Oh, yeah, it's a very European fashion marriage then.
Yeah.
When when marriage is there, it's official when it's held in church.
Mm-hmm.
When a religious specific person
Yeah.
declare or pronounce you as a wife and husband, something like that.
Right. And yours?
Okay.
How about yours?
Mine Mine is actually basically based on the condition of
Mm-hmm.
my con society each era. Like, for example, in modern Rokkon society, people tend to hold their wedding in rented some sort of a relatively big convention hall convention hall due to the urban life. Yeah, like convention hall thingy. Yeah, that forces, because the urban life that forces many people to live in relatively small houses that somehow not suitable to hold a big wedding feast. But in the past, however, when most people live in houses with courtyard, backyard, and also large distance between each homes, they can actually hold a big feast, and again for days.
Oh, cool.
Again for 7 days. And and also, how about the communal acceptance around wedding? I mean, like, is it accepted for your culture wedding to be held at night or on a day?
I think, well, mostly is I think it's like in morning. And in the afternoon, there are a big feast in Thai culture. And at night, you know what will happen. Just
they drink wine.
Okay, yeah, and drinking in the room on the bed.
Okay, yeah.
And yours?
So it's interesting when people only like take inspiration from that European style wedding because the colonialism and stuff. But actually, in my culture, it's actually wedding is started in the morning when people slaughter an animal and declare the animal as a prize for the wedding. And in the afternoon they have these steps of traditional ceremony, something like that, from exchanging rings and stuff. And then at night we will have a feast, like dancing together and singing.
So you feast at night.
So not at night particularly, but it takes whole day. It takes whole day from the morning.
Oh, come on.
From the morning.
The couple needs something limited time. They need something. They need to explore. So they need to explore their emotion.
So Rokkon wedding is a big deal. So
Okay, but Minji, some culture might have the couple sex with each other and at the witness of the family members. That's very interesting.
That's very.
As it's in some culture.
In some culture, interestingly enough, I have heard that for example, when you get married and you spend the first night, like all member of the family watch you. It's kind of creepy in modern standard, but it happens somewhere.
Yeah, right. It's like, I know that the Chinese culture has this kind of culture. Also, the Japanese has that too. But in modern time, it's very rare.
It's very creepy. Can you imagine spending your first night being tired of the whole day ceremony and people still watch you on the bed spending your first night? It's kind of interesting that it's the part of the culture that we can consider in our culture as well.
Right.
Actually.
And I heard that in some culture, the bride will be shared to others, family members, or probably someone sex with her, but it's his husband's brothers, and next day will to his younger brother, something like that. It's very. Oh my gosh, that happens.
Yes. Like, it's really funny, but at the same time, it makes us realize that wedding has so much to cover.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we
that's
can.
a culture thing, so everything will happen.
Yeah, everything happened, and yeah, and again it refers to, and again you have to look back on your set of rules of every day-to-day
Right.
life. Yeah, how the gender works. Is your con culture seeing women as an object or not, or
Oh,
even
maybe
male as an
the male
male
is
as an
the
object or not?
object. Wow.
Yeah, like
Oh, very
yeah,
interesting. Oh,
yeah, very, very interesting.
fascinated.
Like, yeah, very weird when we refer to that aspect of the culture, and of and how about the communal acceptance around wedding? With I mean, when is it normal for guy people to have a wedding feast with a small number of attendants, or a very crowded, packed wedding?
Oh,
How
that is
your
very
con
interesting.
culture?
So, if I'm a
Yeah.
king or I'm a lord, I have a castle, of course, and they will
Uh-huh.
invite the villagers around the castle to having this feast. It's
Oh,
very
yeah,
European.
it's not actually European thing. It also happens in Asia, but the differences is the guests that you invite, actually the relatives, but yeah, the relatives are so many, and even if it's your relative, you don't really know about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ah,
and in
right.
Asia,
I
yeah,
also heard that in Thailand they have such culture too.
yeah,
Invite the
yeah,
villagers around their house.
yeah.
Oh,
And also in Asia, people will talk dirty behind you if you hold feast for only for some people, some small portion of the attendance. But in America, it's pretty normal to have a very quiet wedding with some relatives that you really know. Like
mm.
Asian wedding has to be big, spectacular,
Yeah, and
and
with
crowded.
family. The
Yeah,
family
and
member you didn't know
flashy.
what is his name
Yeah,
and how can I call him? Is that Uncle A or Uncle B or Scheiße?
yeah,
You know that the
Is that-
relevant names in Chinese is such a nightmare. We
yeah,
have
yeah,
大
yeah,
舅公、大舅妈、大姨妈、婶婶。
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's
Like
very
uncle from your mom, uncle
yeah,
from your
right.
uncle's
So,
uncle.
it's very. So
Yeah,
every time
yeah,
if I was in a wedding, I will ask my mom or I will ask my grandma, who is that? Is that
yeah.
our
Who is that?
yeah
Yeah,
cousin?
I feel that. Yeah,
Should I
Asian
call
wedding
him?
is, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's very, 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 very important. Also, if you want to have a big feast
Mhm.
and you decide what kind of guest you will invite, even it's
Right.
strangers, or even the
Mhm.
relatives that you don't know. That's
Right.
really interesting. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. I
People
think,
must.
yeah, and also, yeah, I have to add something to my con culture, because yeah, there are too many empty areas in con culture wedding. And
Mm.
how about you? How about you, Salum?
Yeah. My what?
Okay, and the last one: what kind of con history issues will alter the marriage costume in a con culture? Yep.
So,
Mhm.
history is a huge thing people must to think about in their world building because history will alter all the thing about the world, about the con world. But I think much people didn't notice that because They just think I need to have a planet, I need to have some people. But history is very important. Even in the Tolkien Middle Earth, the history is the core of the history and the storyline.
And con history also deals with the unexpected events like occupation, like the war or something that is really unexpected. Yeah. So in many parts of African actually women takes the leading role in the society, but when the colonialism happens, they started to group people into masculine or feminine, also leaving the value of women. And it's
Chinese
really
culture is also the same, I think.
Yeah.
So, like in very ancient time, Chinese might be a family leading culture. So we have a lot of words with the signatures of a girl. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after 1,000 years later, it becomes more masculine leader, and that's a very big change about all the culture. So the girls became to object, and then it will influence the marriage and the marriage relationship between the couple. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it also changes how people accept the terms like monogamy or polygamy. Yeah, it's generally accepted if a husband have multiple wives than vice versa, right? Yeah, so it's kind of an issue that we have to actually address when you want to make a wedding culture in your con culture. That's really interesting. Like also, one twist can change everything. One twist can change everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, I think that Japanese culture is heading the same question, because you know that Japanese culture is very famous about their witch culture. So the female witch is in Japanese culture has a higher status of the religion thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Japanese was also a female leading culture. Personality is a male leading. What about your culture?
My culture actually I try to make my con history very firm about the counter masculinity. Yeah, that's the concept that I make myself. Counter patriarchy is when the women actually the one who berates the male, like seeing men as a lower level of the society. And I'm still working on it. And it has been really, really complicated when it comes to who will be the general of the war, who will be the something like people who build or construct a building. It's very, very complicated. And that is the con history issues that also affect the making of con culture wedding as well. So
so that's in Thai culture there was also a much sex balanced culture, but when the foreigner is called Vulini, people came to the island and it changes to much masculine leading.
There is no tip of
It has much things we can do with the con culture and the ConWedding. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about that. For example, the sex in public and the family members watching It's a very good side.
Yeah, very, very good subject that we have to really work on. So everybody don't take this podcast as a very serious discussion because we kind of go everywhere. We kind of go
Yeah.
everywhere. We talk about so many things like African and then
Right.
Chinese and go back to Guy and Rokkon. Like when
We're
you
just,
make a
sharing our experience.
we share our experience of our Chinese culture exposure. Sorry.
Chinese
Yeah,
culture
so
explorers.
I hope everybody works on their culture wedding as well. Like, but don't take it too seriously because if you take it seriously, it will be endless. It will be endless. You will get tired too fast. So take it slowly, everybody.
Yeah, I think that might make people much creative.
Yeah,
When
be creative.
Think much
creative.
and just think slowly. It will be much
Yeah.
creative rather than fast
Yeah.
thinking. And we need to read more content, read more data, read more research about the culture thing
That's
and
awesome.
the wedding thing.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have such a fun time discussing about culture wedding. And can we get into the conclusion?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think that will be all for this episode. Do you have anything still want to talk to our listener? Rock!
Yes. So please check my Instagram page. It is ROK_Conlang.
Okay, you send me, I will
Yeah.
put it on the description.
Yeah. And also my YouTube channel. Yeah, shameless plug. YouTube channel Rokkon, ROKK.
Subscribe him, please, people.
And it includes our podcast as well. Don't forget to check Salum's page. What is it?
Sorry, they need to follow this page and they can hear this podcast at least. So don't accident to describe me. They are already described.
Yeah. Okay.
Say goodbye to this uneducated listener. Rock.
Wow. Good job. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in.
Okay, so
Goodbye, everybody.
so like this, Elvis.
I think that's all for today's episode. I'm so excited to make this published because we have been talking for like 50 crazy minutes, but it's really, really interesting and very engaging. I hope it entertains you as well, and I will see you in another episode of Rokkon Podcast. Jula sadantu adu dison. Goodbye.